We're there with a first responder in the Philippines. We have been the first responder in many instances of problems in the Far East because we have large contingencies of people on scene. We had 40 people going into that hurricane area, and we're sending in water and so forth. But it's still hard to get food, water, and medical supplies to the survivors of Typhoon Haiyan.
Yeah, the situation is so bad, it has led to a new tragedy. 8 people were crushed to death during a looting rampage as thousands stormed a rice warehouse. Charlene Israel has more on the rush to help save lives.
Help, massive help is on the way, but will it arrive in time? In many places, survivors are taking matters into their own hands, loading up trucks to deliver food to the starving. It's a critical need.
We can survive without these houses. It's okay for us to anywhere, we can sleep anywhere, but we need food, only food.
The other basic need, water. Some have even resorted to straining it through their shirts. Relief is starting to trickle in. As you can see, CBN Disaster Relief delivering boxes of food right off the plane. CBN is also shipping water purification devices that will disinfect more than 500,000 gallons a day. And CBN has medical workers on the ground. But flying is one of the top challenges. The airport in Tacloban still has no radar or working air traffic control system. Planes must circle above and take turns using the runway. Even after landing, there's often a logjam on the roads, which are too damaged or flooded to pass.
Some of the challenges we've had so far with the situation on the ground is purely to do with logistics and planning and trying to get support services up and running.
On the ground, bodies lie unattended in the roads and everywhere, adding to the misery.
It's just death and devastation everywhere. People need help.
So far, authorities have confirmed over 2,200 deaths and 3,600 injuries. The president now says the final death toll could be 2,500, far less than the original 10,000 deaths feared. Charlene Israel, CBN News.
Well, what we can say is please pray for those people. They're wonderful people. They're dear friends of us at CBN. Over the years, we have been active in the Philippines for decades, and we love the Filipino people and just share with them this sense of tragedy. But we're there helping, and if you want to participate, again, it's CBN Disaster Relief Fund, CBN Center, Virginia Beach. You can send a contribution because it's very crucially needed. But the thing is, with Operation Blessing, we're also sending that water purification, which is very important, and food, rice, and we have skilled medical teams in there helping people, but the extent is so enormous, it needs all the help that can come in from any place in the world. Well, another day and another torrent of bad news for what's called Obamacare. John Jessup has that story from Washington. Here's John.
Pat, that's right. Well, don't look for the failed Obamacare website to be fixed by the end of the month. A government official tells the Washington Post the technical problems are too stubborn, and the system isn't likely to be working properly by November 30th, as promised by the White House. And former President Bill Clinton is weighing in on another broken promise from President Obama. Clinton says the president should honor his pledge to the American people about keeping their health care plans if they like them.
I personally believe, even if it takes a change in the law, the president should honor the commitment the federal government made to those people and let them keep what they got.
Meanwhile, a new report says more than 1 million people in California have had their insurance canceled because of Obamacare, and the healthcare debacle is taking its toll on the president's approval ratings. Only 39% now approve of his job performance in a new Quinnipiac poll, while 54% disapprove. And by a 52 to 44% margin, people say the president is not honest and trustworthy. And Pat, that failed rollout and the broken promises certainly are taking its toll.
Well, he's finished in terms of if you lose that one great vital ingredient, the president must have the confidence of the American people. They must trust him. He's their leader. He represents the nation, and he is our man. We have 300 or so million of us, but this guy is the one who's our point man. And if we lose confidence in his veracity, then he's finished. And he's been lying. He lied and lied and lied and lied. And he did it over and over and over again. Now, what's Bill Clinton doing? He is a very smart politician. He's also a very interesting person. I like him personally, despite some of his moral failings. But he's an extremely likable human being. And he's positioning Hillary for the run in the next time around. So he says he wants to get off board and say, of course we should keep our promises to the American people, even if we have to go back and redo the legislation. He knows where the wind is blowing on this. The people hate this thing, and they want it changed. And so Clinton is at the head of the parade saying, follow me, and also vote for my wife in the next election. That's what it's all about. But it's interesting. It's really, it's interesting to watch him.
Well, I'm glad you explained it, because I kept wondering, well, isn't that nice that President Bill Clinton is actually, siding with the American people? But what you're saying makes more sense.
It would. But he can read the polls. He's a master.
He's brilliant, yeah.
But he's also a real nice guy, and he has a feeling. When he said, "I feel your pain," he wasn't just talking. He really does sense what the American people are feeling, and I think that's why he attracts so many women. He's got that soft touch.
Pat, I remember interviewing him when he was running for president, and there was just a horde of reporters, but when he locked eyes with me, it was like I was the only one there. He has a really amazing ability to make you feel like you're the only person in the room.
Oh, he does indeed, and he's got a mind like a steel trap. But in any event, that's what he's doing. He's positioning his wife, and he knows the other ship is sinking, and he wants to get a lifeboat and get onto the other side. All right, John, what's next?
Pat, a new development on the spiritual landscape of America as dozens of atheist churches are springing up across the U.S. The gatherings have been successful in Great Britain. Now they're drawing like-minded non-believers in cities like San Diego, Nashville, and New York. The so-called churches look like typical Sunday morning church services, complete with music, hand clapping, and inspirational messages. The missing element? God. On Sunday, hundreds of atheists packed this auditorium in Los Angeles for the launch of the latest godless church. British comedians Sanderson Jones and Pippa Evans founded the movement and plan to kickstart more anti-God assemblies in the U.S.
When we think about religion in America, we often talk about, belief in God, belief in Jesus. But for a lot of people, it's the community. It's the Sunday school. It's the seeing people afterwards in the foyer or in the courtyard, and it's the having coffee. They want that kind of moral community that is about connecting with others, and is about celebrating life, celebrating morals and ethics within a non-supernatural context.
Similar gatherings have been started in Australia and Canada. Former Alaska Governor Sarah Palin tells CBN News America's kicking God out of the public square will lead to ruin. Palin goes into more detail in her new book called Good Tidings and Great Joy, Protecting the Heart of Christmas. CBN's David Brody pointed out that if Christmas wasn't about Jesus, it might not offend people. Palin agreed.
People who would be offended by the holiday that we celebrate, the Prince of Peace, because it is called Christmas, is because the name Christ is in the title, that they would be offended. So that tells you that this war on Christmas is really the tip of the spear when it comes to a greater battle that's brewing. And that battle that's brewing is those who would want to take God out of our society, out of our culture, which will lead to ruin, as history has proven. Any country, any government, society that has kicked God out of the public square completely, it leads to ruin. Why would we go down that path when we know what would happen?
You can see more of David's interview with Sarah Palin at his blog, The Brody File, and of course you can find that at cbnnews.com. American pastor Saeed Abedini has been denied his medication in Iran. Abedini's father tried to visit him this week, but he was turned away. He brought Abedini's medication as well as his personal belongings, but prison officials told him his son wasn't allowed to have them. Abedini has been transferred to a horrible prison where he's surrounded by 22,000 of Iran's most violent criminals, including murderers, rapists, and drug addicts. It's also a place to dump political prisoners out of sight from human rights groups and the media. The American Center for Law and Justice warns that Pastor Abedini's life is at stake. To find out what you can do, go to cbnnews.com. Pat?
John, I'm just shocked, as I'm sure our audience is, about the treatment of Pastor Abedini. It's just outrageous. He is an American, yes, perhaps Iranian background, but he's an American citizen. And he was just visiting. He wasn't doing anything to hurt that country. And they arrested him and have treated him like he's some violent criminal. And it's just horrible what they're doing to him. And so, again, there's a protest. That regime in Iran is out of control. And it's just a question of days, weeks before our friends in Israel decide it's gone too far and they take a move. So keep your eyes open. John?
Pat, far more Americans may soon be taking statin drugs. The American Heart Association and the American College of Cardiology have issued the first new guidelines in a decade for preventing heart attacks and strokes, and they call for twice as many Americans to consider taking the drugs. That's 1/3 of all adults. Patients on the meds will no longer need to lower their cholesterol levels to specific number targets monitored by regular blood tests. That had been recommended for decades. Some doctors say only a small percentage of people really need statins. Dr. Steve Sinatra says for many statin users, the risks outweigh the gains.
The side effects of statins are grossly underreported. I mean, grossly underreported. Doc, I can't get out of a chair anymore. I have weakness in my thighs. I can't play doubles tennis. I walk the dog and I'm vitally exhausted. These are statin side effects. However, a lot of the doctors or the patients think they're getting older. They're not getting older. These are statin side effects.
Despite recommendations for a wider use of statins, an increasing number of doctors say the country should be going in the opposite direction. In fact, Pat, some doctors say cholesterol isn't even the cause of heart disease.
Well, I'm sure you know that I'm not an MD doctor, even though I've got a doctorate, but I'm not a doctor.
You play one on TV, right?
Yeah, no, I'm not playing it on TV. But listen, statins are the pits. They are terrible for you. And what they do is deplete the CoQ10, which you earnestly need to maintain heart health. And they will lead ultimately to more heart attacks. And what Dr. Sinatra said is absolutely right. People who take them have aches, they have pains, they have joint discomfort, and they think it's aging, and they're slowing down because of these statins.
Did you ever take them?
Somebody prescribed them for me, and I took them for, I think, 1 week.
Yeah.
I wouldn't touch them beyond that.
Yeah.
But a friend of mine was having aches and pains. I said, it's the statin, stop it, stop the stuff, and he began to be all right. But what do you do to get down your cholesterol if you're concerned about it? I don't think it's as big a deal as they make it. Oat bran, fish oil,
Right.
oatmeal, nuts, berries, and the Mediterranean diet. It'll bring, you know, they said your cholesterol's a little bit elevated. I'll say, I'll take care of it. So I did that. In about a month, my cholesterol was way down to where it was supposed to be. Oat bran. Oat bran is great. Oat bran. Have you ever taken?
Oat bran is not, okay, oatmeal is also good.
Yeah, but oat bran is concentrated, and you get it in a little box at the grocery store.
You can sprinkle it on everything.
Sprinkle it, or you can cook it. This morning, I had oatmeal with oat bran in it and some nuts. Delicious.
Man, your cholesterol must be amazing.
It is amazing. And my blood pressure's way down. And the other thing is dark chocolate, a little bit of dark chocolate. Wonderful for taking down blood pressure and all these other things. You can do it naturally. These statins are awful, awful. I'm sorry, 1,000 cardiologists are going to scream, you don't know what you're talking about. Well, okay, so I don't know what I'm talking about, but I'm still not going to take them.
The U.S. Supreme Court has rejected an appeal to revive Oklahoma's ultrasound abortion law. The law required women seeking abortions to have an ultrasound and then view the image while the provider described the fetus. A state court struck down the law. The justice's decision means that ruling now stands. The Central Asian nation of Uzbekistan booted 3 American Christians out of the country this week. The Russian news agency Interfax reports a court ordered the Baptist workers deported for missionary activity. Authorities reportedly seized DVDs from their hotel rooms. Missionary activity is banned in the mostly Muslim nation. Well, you can always get the latest from CBN News by going to our website at cbnnews.com.